Hey everyone, how's it going? Today I'm going to start a little mini series on Joseph. I think I'll do it in 3 segments, I think. Um, but yeah, so Joseph. We'll start in Genesis 37. Uh, Genesis 37 tells us some details about Joseph. The story starts when he is 17 years old, and he's the favorite son of Jacob. Jacob has 12 sons, and Joseph is number 11 out of the 12 in the pecking order. But he is the eldest son of Jacob's favorite wife, Rachel. So this is probably why he's the favorite son of Jacob in general. Uh, to show how much he loves Joseph, Jacob has a coat of many colors made for Joseph so that he will stand out and he'll be set apart, and his love for Joseph will show, which, as you can imagine, for his brothers, what didn't go over very well. They don't like Joseph. They hate Joseph. They want nothing to do with Joseph. So we learn this about the dynamic that's going on in the family, and then we learn that Joseph has a dream, and so the 17-year-old kid goes to his brothers, and his brothers are quite older than him. Most of them are they're men. They have families. They have their own children. Um, but he goes up to his brothers and he's like, "I had this dream, and in this dream we were binding wheat, right? But my sheaf of wheat stood up higher than all of your sheaves of wheat, and then your sheaves of wheat bow down to mine. How cool is that?" And they're like, "No, not cool. You're a jerk. We hate you. And if you ever think we're going to bow down to you, you're highly mistaken. Just because Dad treats you better doesn't mean you're any better than us. Get lost." So you would think that Joseph would learn his lesson. Like maybe he should keep his dreams to himself for a better time, better audience. No. So in his 17-year-old wisdom, he goes to his dad. He's like, "Dad, I had another dream. And in my dream, there was the sun and the moon, and there were 11 stars. And they all bowed down to my star." And his dad's like, "Boy, who do you think you are? There's no way that your mom and I and your 11 brothers are ever going to bow down to you. You need to figure out, like, you may be my favorite, but you're not the eldest. And no, we're never going to bow down to you." And the Bible says that Jacob rebuked him, but at the same time, he also kept it in the back of his mind, this dream that Joseph is having. Okay? So, so there's more animosity building within the family. So the brothers go off to go, they're shepherds, but they take the sheep far away. They're like, "We want away from all of this right now." But they've been gone a long time. So Jacob sends Joseph. He's like, "Go check on your brothers." Joseph's like, "Sure." So in order to go, he puts on his pretty coat that sets him apart from all of his other brothers. And he goes on his trek. He's going to go find his brothers and be like, "Dad wants to know where you are." His brothers see him coming and they're like, "Oh, here comes that kid. We hate the kid." They're like, "Let's kill him." So like their jealousy has boiled so much into them that they now have a homicidal rage towards their little brother. And so they're like, "Yeah, when he gets here, we're going to kill him." Now Reuben, who's the eldest, he's like, time out. Not a good idea. He's our flesh and blood. We should not kill our brother. I don't think that's a good idea. But they're like adamant. They're like, "No, we're going to kill him." So he's like, wait. I have an idea. See, there's this dry cistern, like a well over here. Let's throw him in there, and then we'll just let nature take its course, and he'll die naturally. His blood's not on our hands. And then we're rid of our problem. And the brother's like, "Yeah, that's a good idea." So Joseph gets there and they jump him and they beat him up and they rip off this coat because they hate that, right? It's the symbol of everything that they hate about him. And they throw him into the cistern and they sit down to eat, right? And then while they're eating, they see this caravan off and they're like, "Those are the Ishmaelites." They're like, "You know what we should do?" Judah speaks up. He's like, "Guys, I got an even better idea. His blood won't be on our hands and we'll make some money. Let's sell him to the Ishmaelites." Yeah, brilliant. This part of the Bible causes some discussion not because they're selling their brother, because it says the Ishmaelites, and then it says that they sold him to the Midianites. Ishmael was the son of Abraham and Abraham's concubine, Hagar. And then Midian was a son of Abraham and his second wife, Keturah, after Sarah died. So are they the same? They blood related? I don't think there was a mix-up. I think they probably just looked the same and probably caravanned together. Personal opinion on that. Anyway, so they end up selling Joseph to the Ishmaelites / Midianites, and they are like, yay, our problem's gone. Well, Reuben comes back. You might be wondering where Reuben was. I was wondering also. I think he probably was like, I don't want to be here when Joseph is jumped. Because the Bible tells us that he had said the plan, so because he was going to come back later and pull Joseph out of the pit and send him home and be like, run, kid. Like, everybody's lost their mind. Like, run and keep your dreams to yourself. So he comes back and he's like, where's the kid? And they're like, we sold him. Here's your piece of silver. And he's like, no, like, what is wrong with you guys? This is our brother. This is so wrong. And he's like crying and ripping his clothes. Like, this is horrible. So they're like, what are we going to tell Dad? So they kill one of their animals, and they take the blood and they roll the cloak in the blood, and they make sure it's all ripped up. And then they go back home, and they bring it to Jacob, and they're like, Dad, have you seen Joseph? Because we found this, and it looks like Joseph's coat, but we didn't find Joseph. We think a wild animal got him. And Jacob is devastated. Like, the Bible says that nothing could console Jacob. Like, he, like, it, you know, sometimes when people have a loved one that dies, and it's almost like they're still alive, but they died, like they stopped living. That's how Jacob became with this, right? So, in essence, they like killed their dad, even though he's still living. Like, that's how much pain it caused him. So then we go fast forward to back to Joseph, and Joseph has made it to Egypt via the slave caravan, and he's bought by a man named Potiphar, who's the head of the Pharaoh's bodyguard. But the Bible tells us that Joseph did well with Potiphar. Everything he touched succeeded, so much so that Potiphar made him the head over his whole entire house. He was Potiphar's right-hand man. And the Bible says that Potiphar didn't worry about a single thing except what he was going to eat. So basically, Joseph ran the house, and Potiphar would be like, I want steak for dinner tonight. Okay, cool. Going to work. And so Joseph has control of everything. And then the Bible tells us that Joseph was handsome both in form and in look. So Joseph was buff, and he was hot. And Potiphar's wife noticed, right? So Potiphar's wife decided that she wanted a piece of that, and I'm assuming she was a cougar. Potiphar could have married somebody quite younger than him. That's not unheard of in the time and frame. But I'm going to go with that. She's a cougar. I like it better for the story. So she approaches Joseph, and Joseph's like, and she's like, yeah. And he's like, no. She's like, yes. And he's like, no, Mrs. Potiphar, like, you're my master's wife. And not only that, this is not just a sin against my master. This is a sin against my God. Like, I cannot do this. I'm thinking at this point, because she was like adamant, she's like, no, you are going to right now, that she probably invoked, like, you're a slave, you're going to do what I said. But he still turned around and ran. And so when he ran, she grabbed a hold of his cloak and pulled, and so he left his cloak in her hands. So, no, there's nothing like a woman scorned, right? So she starts yelling rape, and she's like, he tried to rape me, and she makes it look like it. She like dishevels herself and everything like that. And then starts blaming Potiphar, like, you brought this foreigner into the house and you left him with me. You don't love me. And he tried to rape me. So Potiphar takes Joseph and he throws him in prison. Right? My opinion is that Potiphar knew his wife. Because in this type of scenario, Joseph should be dead. Like, historically, a slave's life means nothing. So Potiphar can kill Joseph and no repercussions whatsoever. And Potiphar would be within his rights to kill Joseph if he raped his wife. Like, nobody would question it. It's more questionable that Potiphar didn't kill Joseph for this. But Potiphar threw Joseph into prison. And so I think Potiphar knew what was going on. I think he knew his wife, and I think he knew Joseph. But so we can definitely see that God's hands on Joseph. He keeps protecting him from death, right? He protected him from death from his brothers, and he protected him from death from Potiphar. And so Joseph's thrown into prison, and then in prison he succeeds. And the warden loves Joseph. He actually gives Joseph control over everything. Basically, he goes and plays golf every day, and Joseph takes care of the prisoners of the prison. And Joseph's an honorable man, so he's not trying to escape, and he's not doing anything shady with the prisoners. But, of course, he would like out. So we're going to stop there. So and then next we'll hear about some cool things that happen in the prison. So historically, we learned that caravans were a thing for the trade routes. We also, slavery was common in those times. And Egypt is being painted as a picture and pictured as a mighty nation already. I mean, the king's bodyguard obviously has a big enough place that he has his own slaves and his own household and situations like that. And biblically, we can see that the hand of God is on Joseph, even though it's not going as Joseph thought this plan would go. I mean, he had this dream that everybody's going to bow down to him. And now all that's happening to him is he keeps getting thrown into prisons. He got thrown into a cistern. Now he's in prison. So he's probably like, what's going on? But what we see is that Joseph does not let go of God. We know that because when Potiphar's wife approaches him, he's like, not only is it a sin against my master, it's a sin against my God. Okay? So Joseph hasn't let go of God, even though things don't look like how he thinks they should look like, or I imagine how he thinks they should look like. As always, questions, comments, ideas, put them in the comments field. And then until next time, all right, talk to you guys later. Bye.